in politics. We'll hear from author Christopher Hitchens and the co-creator of The Daily Show on Comedy Central. This is part of an event hosted by Google, its affiliate YouTube, and the National Journal. Portions of this hour-long event contain language that some viewers may find offensive.
Okay, great. We're going to get started. If you're ready, Mr. Hitchens and everyone else. The National Journal and Google brought us together today to try to explain to all of you why this election has really become a pop culture phenomenon. When you've got your children, you've got people all around the world who want their piece of this election, whether it's videos, blogging, user-generated videos, your own kids' video that you send in, or my favorite, Bloggerheads TV, because I can't get enough blogging heads. Get together. Everyone wants a piece of this election. They've taken their piece. I would argue that they're going to demand even more as this election goes on and in future elections. But today, right now, we've gathered this group together because we think they can explain why it has become this way. So if we may begin on the end there, we've got Baratunde Thurston. He's the web editor of The Onion. He's director of election coverage, which, by the way, they've named the war for the White House. He's affectionately known around the water cooler there at The Onion as Petraeus. There, Petraeus. Oh, we get that. His training for this job included stand-up comedy and working for Verizon and AT&T. I'll leave that there. Baratunde claims, by the way, that The Onion's reporting is even more honest than CNN, and we're going to show you a clip. I hope.
Moving on. If you planned on following the presidential election in November, you might want to plug your ears. A big election spoiler is coming up. A minor software glitch at the Diebold Corporation today caused thousands of electronic voting machines to accidentally release the results of the 2008 presidential election months ahead of schedule. According to the group of military and corporate leaders that has chosen every American president since Eisenhower, Diebold's mistake marks the first time the nation's leader has been revealed prematurely.
I don't even know if I can enjoy the sham election now that I know who's going to win.
If you can't trust your shadowy overlords to keep it secret, what is the purpose, really, of voting in the puppet democracy?
I'm fine with it. I mean, he was going to get my meaningless vote anyway.
Despite the leak, all of the presidential candidates have so far said they'll continue their campaigns.
Hillary Clinton isn't about to give up just because she lost the election. She'll give up when she's supposed to on Election Day. And she'll act surprised.
Joining us now to talk about the leaked results is Diebold PR spokesman Ernie Kenilworth. Mr. Kenilworth, this was quite a mistake.
And we at Diebold would like to formally apologize to all of our shadowy puppet masters. This will not happen again. Please have mercy on us.
Do you think that people will still even vote in this election?
We certainly hope they will. This country is based on the fantasy that the government is the voice of the people. Going through the motions of voting and keeping the kingmakers dealing secret is central to our culture.
Why do we need electronic voting machines in the first place? They're just not as reliable as our cloaked masters, no matter how good the software gets.
Well, I understand people's concerns, but from now on, we at Diebold will see to it that we properly safeguard the illusion of democracy for all Americans.
Well, let's hope so. So, for those of us who will watch, what can we expect on election night?
Oh, the same great show that you have always seen. We will be pretending to count votes, and we will be running an ongoing total throughout the night.
But wouldn't it be possible for them to just choose a different president so that we'll still have that same great surprise?
No, I don't think so. However, that does not rule out the possibility for a staged assassination after the president has been placed in office.
Oh, I take it that's a hint.
You won't get anything else out of me today, Gina. I've already said too much.
All right. Well, thank you for being with us, Mr. Kenilworth. After the break, researchers say they have found a cure for awakeness.
Very nice. Next, you can applaud. Let's hear it for them. That's a lot of really good work there. Next to Baratunde is Zoe Stagg. She's here from Team Sugar. She began her journalism career writing for Veg News and Rachel Ray and working for candidates at all levels. But the job that most prepared her for a role as Citizen Sugar driving a tour bus through Washington, and no, she never got to drive the DC Ducks, so don't ask her after the program. Zoe has endorsed John McCain, but she doesn't let her political views get in her way at Team Sugar, where they use celebrities to get into politics. She'll tell us all about that in a minute. Welcome, Zoe. And then next, Ben Rellis, sitting right next to her. He was looking for that one girl, like many ad men before him, one that would travel the globe because of their love and devotion to Jack Bauer. But instead, he found Obama Girl and made her and himself the stars of this election. Today, he'll premiere his next video. Let's take a look at some clips.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with a... I can't do it.
You are mentally handicapped.
We'll do it live.
You can't even get it right after 5 takes. Why would I agree to do it live?
We'll do it live.
No, you. We're not going to do it live.
Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live.
How are you going to write it? You can't even read it, you troglodyte homunculus. Last chance. In 5, 4, 3...
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks again for watching. We'll leave you with Sting and a cut off his new album. Take it away.
You want to... Let's do this. Let's do this. Come on!
Hillary Clinton made a dramatic entrance into war-torn Bosnia today as she piloted her jumbo jet to a safe landing. Unfortunately for Mrs. Clinton, some of the hardest fighting the human race has ever seen was currently raging, with routine nuclear attacks on both sides. Top generals agree there's no place more dangerous and snipery than Bosnia right now. Our noble and brave First Lady took time away from dodging attacks to shake hands and smile, and yes, even show off a little marksmanship on a terrorist hiding under a tank. One of the most dramatic moments came as the H-bomb, a nickname given to her on this trip, was hugging a young girl. Sniper fire struck 2 men standing nearby, leaving them shaken and impressed by Mrs. Clinton's calm composure under fire.
And Amory Ettinger's become like a rock star, you know, of course, as the Obama girl.
I got a crush on Obama. Wait till 2008. Baby, you're the best candidate.
My heart was beating out of my chest. My legs were shaking. I felt like when I stood up, I was going to fall back over. I was so nervous.
See that look in their eye? That's what you used to have. The eye of the donkey.
To the White House to stop the opposition. You see, it's hopeless. It's becoming Obama nation. 'Cause I got a crush on Obama.
Let's hear it. We're going to ask our friends at Google to get Liz's very super secret, fabulous video ready while I introduce her. Most of you probably know her. Very super secret, because I'm just telling them we're going to use it right now. Okay. Liz Winstead, that's the English version, not Weinstead, as she corrected me earlier, created the Daily Show. Let's hear it for Liz. She deserves applause just for that. She proved to the world that young people do care about politics. She caused a lot of my friends in network news to lose their jobs, and I'm trying to forgive her for that. But that's not enough for her, because now she has Shoot the Messenger, where she makes fun of network news, morning network news now, every day. They perform it in New York, and then it's up on the web. And gentlemen, if you could play that for us now, I think everyone would really like it.
Hi, guys. All right, so get this. If the general election were held today, we would be seeing a virtual tie between John McCain and Barack Obama. But anything can happen between now and November. And, you know, there are a lot of variables that no one we polled had seriously considered until we polled them. So, of the candidates left in the race, voters cite health concerns as the biggest consideration affecting their vote in November. With second place being the color of the candidate, the color of the candidate's pastor, and a wife with opinions rounding out their major concerns. So, as we break down this health question, we see an advantage for Obama. When asked to speculate, 58% of voters say that they trend heavily towards Obama in the event of a McCain heart attack. Breaking it down even further, the news just gets worse for McCain. When asked how people would vote if McCain had 2 heart attacks, that gap widens 20%, giving Obama a 63-point lead. Now, bring on hypothetical heart attack for McCain number 3, and the polling data gets really interesting, because here we see these numbers start to rebound for McCain. The voters we polled see that a survivor of 3 heart attacks is strong and ready to face any challenge. So when you make the number of heart attacks for McCain 3, those gains for Obama from heart attacks 1 and 2 just totally flip in favor for McCain, with just a small amount of undecideds. But cardiac arrest is just one of the areas that we're speculating about heading to November. If the McCain heart attack scenario fails to come to fruition, we've still got a dead heat. So, in the next poll, we've asked voters to focus on race and gender. Would we still be looking at such a close race if Barack Obama were a white woman married to a former president? Let's take a look at those numbers. Of the likely voters we polled, if Obama were a white woman married to a former president, he would gain a slight advantage over McCain. But, and this is really interesting, the same polling shows that Obama would lose to Hillary Clinton if she were a 46-year-old black man who had just secured the Democratic nomination for president. Lots to think about as we enter the general election. Hope, Davis?
Thanks a lot.
Fantastic. And next to me, a man needing no video, Christopher Hitchens, best-selling author, agent provocateur, who's a fearless flogger of all ridiculous things, so we couldn't have this panel without him. How do you explain how my kids, people all across the country and the world are talking about this election, that it has become such a big event?
I remember seeing James Baldwin. Remember James Baldwin? The older comrades will remember him. I'm here as the old guy for this panel. I don't know. But anyway.
I thought you were going to a John McCain joke.
Very celebrated, very brilliant, gay African-American novelist of the 60s, mainly. Giovanni's Room, Another Country, The Fire Next Time, If Beale Street Could Talk. All his titles were brilliant too. And I saw him speak when I lived in London in the 60s at Central Hall, Westminster, the biggest hall in London. Huge rally for civil rights. And he said, having made this chilling, brilliant speech, he paused and he said to all the English people sitting there, he said, and just you remember something, my brothers and my sisters, just you remember, Richard Nixon is your president too. And everyone in the hall went, ugh, at the realization it was true. And everyone really around the world secretly has always wanted one thing, a vote in American elections.
That's it,
and
they just want to vote?
Obama is in a funny way sort of promising them that. Another promise you won't be able to keep, among very many.
Do you agree with that, Liz? Which part? The part about the rest of the world just wants to vote and have a piece of our action? That Christopher, as a young man growing up, wanted one thing to vote, which, by the way, we should say new citizen voting this year for the first time.
My fellow Americans, yes.
Wow. That's
Taking a long
it.
time. Thank you.
Of course, your candidate pulled out, right?
I voted absentee, and the guy was out before my vote was counted, but I don't care. And I voted in D.C. where it doesn't count, and where we have taxation without representation. And it was the worst welcome I could possibly have had to this great republic, but I was still full of irrational pride.
Well, Liz, The Daily Show and a lot of the shows that everyone's involved with and websites are seem to really be bringing people into the process because it's at their level. Is that fair, or is that just mainstream media blather?
Well, I think mainstream media blather is why there is The Daily Show and Bill Maher. I mean, quite frankly, watch mainstream television and people who are hosting these shows, and part of the reason it happened, you sort of joke that we're putting you guys out of business. I would say I wouldn't exist if it wasn't for how ridiculous mainstream media has become, especially on television.
In what way, though?
Well, here's the classic thing that is happening. When you watch television news, on cable especially, I sit in my living room just as a citizen who writes jokes for a living, and I see the people asking the same questions I ask myself of what I've read in the paper. So basically you have talking heads from 8 in the morning until 11 o'clock wondering aloud. And you should not get paid to wonder aloud on television. And that is what they do. It's like, wow, why does Obama still go to that church or that preacher? I don't know. That's what I'm asking. Why are you asking it me back? And then that's what happens for this block of time. So I think that that is the #1 problem with all of it. There's no journalists.
And Emily Ratcliffe. Emily Ratcliffe, for whom I predict, by the way, a bright future. I was thinking how unsatirical it was. I can remember when Ronald Reagan had cancer in his bottom, if you remember this.
Yes.
Again, makes me feel old, but it was a while ago. But there it was, and steps had to be taken. You can't have a cancer lurking in the presidential rear end. So out it came. It was just around the time of his re-election, and the Los Angeles Times published an opinion poll. Said, you decide, do you think Ronald Reagan's bottom cancer will A, return, B, has gone into remission, or C, has been completely cured? You decide.
Right, you decide. This is interactive.
Make your vote count on the president's ass.
Yes, that's exactly.
Okay, I've lived to see it. Opinion polling has now become a mockery of itself.
That's exactly
and
right.
It's all designed to make people think that they count, or can count.
Yeah.
And neither assumption is correct.
Right. And I think that that's right. I think that, you know, you guys give me a job. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, since Liz won't take any responsibility, Ben, how about you? Is it all your fault? I mean, you created Obama Girl. You know, there are plenty cable news anchors out there that could have fulfilled that role. I mean, what was your plan?
Originally to get a cable news anchor to fulfill that role, and they all didn't. Then I was going to do it. I didn't look good in the outfit. No, I mean, you know, there was no grand master plan. I love the idea because I was in the office and I heard some women talking about how this guy, they like him because of his policies. The next one was talking about how cute he was. And at the time I was watching a video by an artist named JoJo, and she had this like ridiculous MTV video where she was fawning over this guy. So it wasn't like any kind of plan at the time. It was, wouldn't it be funny to have a girl who was obsessed with Barack Obama? And, you know, we actually put that video out a year ago today, and didn't think when we put out that video we'd still be releasing more Obama Girl videos, let alone that Obama, you know, would have the nomination pretty much secured. But the website that we launched, barelypolitical.com, has been evolving over the last year. And initially, when we put it out, I did not have, you know, a clear picture of what it would be today. But now I think we have a good idea of the type of things that work online.
Citizen Sugar.
Yes.
You're using celebrities, Lindsay Lohan, that poor Britney Spears, to drag them in and get them into politics.
Well, I think so, yes. I think that entering into a political discussion via the celebrity realm is a really natural occurrence. And it doesn't mean that just because celebrities are the welcome mat, that once they get inside, the political discourse is garbage. I think that people need sort of this stepping stone to get into it. And celebrity blogs, celebrity magazines have trained people to follow politics. I mean, we have learned how to create a cast of characters among people we don't really know, follow their every move, and I think that that translates to politics in a way that's an incredible parallel. So of course people are taking those skills and going to websites 12 times a day to see what has Obama done now. And if someone makes them laugh, it's another way to sort of learn about the candidate and interact with the candidate. And I think that it's a really happy marriage.
Baratunde, do you think that people are just looking something to connect to be part of a movement?
Yes, they are. And just to tag on to Citizen Sugar over here, the point about following celebrities is actually very important. I turned on TMZ, which now has a television show, which is really frightening. And they had a big glass wall like the Nash equilibrium wall where they're doing complex physics calculations for what Lindsay Lohan's eating for lunch at the Ivy. And I'm like, how can they're following people minute by minute, and yet the news people aren't treating the same, given the same respect to like weapons of mass destruction or the Justice Department or all these other interesting things. So I think there is an opening there that you're tapping into, which is really interesting. Yeah, people want to be a part of a movement. People want to follow something. I think what we try to do with The Onion is do what we've always done, which is try to actually be America's finest news source and do what we do politically and satirically, but journalistically at the core. We're writing in that journalistic voice and that journalistic style. You see it in our videos, in the radio network, and playing off of the polling and the horse race mentality. We did this headline. It was Obama, Clinton, McCain combined to form Nightmare Ticket. Right, because there's all this hypothetical, like, let's just jam them all together. And the slogan was like, real change solutions you can believe in, finally for America you can trust. Or,
Yeah.
you know, something like that.
Like Albert Brooks, you remember in Taxi Driver? He's running the Senator Palantine campaign. He's on the phone. He said, you delivered us these buttons. Our slogan is, we are the people. The buttons say, we are the people. He said, oh, you don't think there's much difference? Well, we won't pay for the buttons.
Yeah.
We will throw the buttons away. But in fact, the joke is on him. There isn't any difference.
Yeah.
And that's probably the most intelligent slogan I've seen in the last 25 years.
Well, I think you're all wrong. I think cable news is great, not just because I worked there for 25 years, but the truth is people learn a lot about politics that way, and it gives you guys plenty of fodder. Christopher, help me out here.
Oh, my God.
No, it's
Well,
like
go ahead and help her.
when Sandra Bullock in Miss Congeniality is told she's got to run for Miss America, she said, oh, no. She said, it's Mary Lou Freebush saying that she's in favor of world peace. Don't you know that feeling? Why do I care? Why should I care what some celebrity thinks about?
Well, I don't know why candidates don't just start hanging out with celebrities. Like if Barack Obama was
Well,
just
they
with Lindsay
do,
Lohan.
but then they're viciously
No, I'm talking about the Lindsay Lohans who get the most press. Just be with them constantly.
Well, you know what?
Twice the airtime. Or just treatment centers.
That
Like,
was
I
the
don't
story
know.
today, right? That Obama was emailing with Scarlett Johansson, and Scarlett Johansson talked about getting the emails directly from him.
But I'm not talking about Scarlett Johansson. I'm talking about Britney,
I didn't know there was
Lindsay.
such a
I'm talking
difference.
about
Name wonder.
tragedies.
If you need a last name, you don't need to be on the list,
I don't think
right?
that people care necessarily who celebrities are voting for, but I think that because celebrities are introduced in our lives as characters, as people we maybe know more about than our neighbors, I think we have an interest in who everyone is voting for. And we just happen to have Lindsay Lohan as sort of this character in our lives that maybe, you know, the girl next door isn't. So I don't think that we're taking our political cues from them, but I think that there's sort of a natural interest there.
Let me bring it back to the election and ask Christopher this.
But I want to bring it back to what you said about how great cable news is.
Okay.
Because I mean, I guess I just feel like when I'm getting information, and I don't know how all of you get your information, but I can't remember the last
Let's
time
ask. Hold
cable
on.
news
Let's
broke
ask.
a story.
How many people watch cable news every day?
And is that your primary source of where you get your information?
No, wait a minute, hold on. I'm the moderator, Liz. Here's the second question. The second question is, when a news, no, this is an important question for all of you. You should thank me for this. When a news story breaks, do you run to your TV? How many run to your TV? How many run to the internet? How many run to the TV? How many run to the computer? This is what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen.
Very interesting.
It's right here. Go
But
ahead.
you're
Liz.
not breaking the story,
Good.
Tammy.
By the way,
stories are breaking
smart
on the
choice.
internet. They're breaking from
Well done.
all sorts of media. And then you guys slap a breaking news thing on it when it broke already. You know, when Anna Nicole Smith died, the news was no longer breaking. It broke. She's dead. That's it. And you went on and on. But like when I see, for example, your ex, Chris Matthews, like this is
My
something-
ex, be clear.
Yeah.
My ex-host. That's it.
When I'm watching Chris Matthews, and I'm sure all of you saw on the internet or Chris Matthews, he interviewed a right-wing kind of talk radio host, and they were talking about appeasement. And the right-wing talk radio host didn't know what he was talking about. And so Chris Matthews beats up the guy. And then Chris Matthews goes on television and talks about how he beat up this guy. Now, I was watching the segment because I was actually myself, because I'm not a historical scholar, was sort of wanted to hear a conversation about appeasement and what it meant, why people were exaggerating about it, what Neville Chamberlain actually did. Instead, what I got was a guy wasting my time, me not learning anything, and then Chris Matthews the next day on the news patting himself on the back for beating up a shithead.
But wait a
Pardon me,
minute.
I'm not finished. This isn't cable news. So the question is, why is it good that Chris Matthews' producers didn't book a smart guy, put a dumb guy on, and then let him blather on and on? I got nothing from it. The only person that gained something from it was Chris Matthews patting himself on the back.
Well,
and I find that offensive.
Let me just defend him, though, because you're making 2 points at the same time. You can't do that because you want authenticity. You want people to be real. Chris Matthews is real. That's why he's successful. He says what he thinks. You may not like it. You may not like the way. The guest came on the show. He was a surrogate for the campaign. I wasn't there then. I had nothing to do with it.
He wasn't a surrogate for the campaign. He was a talk show host.
He was a surrogate.
What she's saying, though, is important, that the whole cable TV business can be very upsetting for anyone who has any self-respect. I mean, I watch cable TV only when they can make me do it, which is at the airport, where I can't not watch it. So I got to the airport because I was going to New York for CNN. They'd asked me on to discuss a very serious subject. I won't bore you with what it was, but I got to National Airport. I was about to board the plane, and the headline didn't say "Fat Slut Dies," but it could as well have done so. The Nicole Smith fact had checked out.
Right.
Thought, it's cruel of me to take the ticket now and the hotel room, because I'm not going on TV tonight. I know that now. I should really call and say I'm not boarding the plane. And I thought, no, screw that. I could use a night in New York at someone else's expense. I won't call them till I get off the plane at the other end. And they said, oh, great, so you're in the car, yeah. Well, you know, you're not coming on. I said, I know that. I'm going to the Essex House, and I'm going to order a very big dinner. But they said, unless, of course, you'd like to talk about Anna Nichols. No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, right. But I mean,
you know, they run the risk of wearing out your patience.
Right. And I think, you know, no one's saying Chris Matthews isn't a nice guy or a smart guy, but at some point, whose responsibility is it when there's guests that are on who have not been pre-interviewed, clearly, because Chris Matthews, as a smart guy, because he challenged him on it, the guy was not there and was not smart on the issue, and all Chris did was beat him up. Instead of somebody getting a smart guy on the show.
Mayor Tindig, help me out here.
I'm not going to do that, Tammy. I'm sorry. But I think I can add another kind of example to this and why people turn to the pop cultural, the satirical side for some of this coverage. I mean, all of us up here represent some element of that. It's because there's something lacking in some of the mainstream outlets. You know, I saw a CNN segment. I was actually part of a CNN segment. They were talking about Petraeus' testimony. And they spent maybe 2.5 minutes on Petraeus' testimony, about 5 minutes on campaign slogans. And the font choices and the color. And this is the day
he have 24 hours, my friend. It's a lot of time.
That decision of twice as much time on logos and color says something to the public. And it says something that I think we at The Onion are very proud to say, which is we absolutely don't respect our readers.
Oh.
But we can say that and be open about it. I think there's a message that you get as the viewer or the reader from one of those other outlets of absolute disdain. And it's something that we can kind of have fun with, but there's something underneath of that which also happens.
And it fills the void, I think, too, is, you know, when you see Chris on Bill Maher and you see real debate and real conversations, because you can't craft a joke unless you have some information. And so people are making a point with information. You might disagree with the point, but it does spark conversation. It does spark dialogue.
But his show went off ABC, and he's on HBO, a premium channel. I mean, why is it that he can't be on, or anyone like Bill Maher, be on a network? We've been talking about cable, but let's talk about a network. That was a network show. There was serious opinion, issues. People talked about the show, but he's off. I mean, I'm not talking about the political issue, but there's a reason, because the American people want reality. They want to see things act out. That gets back to my question for Christopher, because people have posed this issue.
Never asked.
Yes. The issue and the question is the Clinton campaign. And by the way, I'm wearing a Hillary Clinton yellow for you. The question is, did the Clinton campaign miss the boat in terms of, for example, the videos they put up on YouTube? Everyone, you know, put their videos up. What is it, 7 out of 16 candidates announced on YouTube. But the videos that they put up were the absolute opposite of user-gen videos that were just regular people. They were very slick, very highly produced. Someone said to me, made for TV movies. Do you think that helped or hurt the campaign?
I don't know why they call it YouTube, but all I know about YouTube is that anyone who wants to see me make an old speech again that I did very well at the University of Chicago, say, can go and do that and be induced to buy my book. It's a me tube. It's for me. I don't know about you guys at all, but I like this me tube innovation, I've got to say. It's not the only thing the Clinton campaign screwed up. I think the main thing that they screwed up, and I really, really rejoice in saying this, is that the person they thought was their secret weapon, the great campaigner, the great political genius, the great ex-president, revealed to a crucial number of people something that most of us already knew, which is that he's a raging psycho. And it's been very gratifying to see people who could have caught up to that 10 or so years ago catching up to it now. When they think if there was one if there was only one reason why they lost, it'll have to be because of him. And that pleases me more than I can say. I feel as if I'm going to have an orgasm in my trousers.
Do you think that...
Not while I'm sitting next to you.
I do. I've waited a long time for this.
Do you think that part of that was on purpose?
And how shocked they are to... Yeah, sorry.
Do you think that Bill Clinton's perhaps lackluster performance was to... Was there any strategy behind
Boulou,
it?
as they say in French. In other words, subconsciously he wanted her to lose.
Do you think so?
No, I don't think so, because it would mean that he was in some awful way back. And I think he can't deny himself a thing like that.
I don't even think it was lackluster. I think it was
He can't help
something
himself anyway.
Sorry.
So no, lackluster it wasn't. It was...
Right.
It was ugly. It was nasty.
It was
mean,
id. It was very much, there was a lot of id
What
going
it
on.
was there was a camera following them everywhere, following every candidate everywhere, and every person. I actually want to ask another question about that, since we're getting so serious, about the blogger, the citizen blogger. Maybe I should ask Citizen Sugar this. The citizen blogger at HuffPost, who is the one that asked the questions of President Clinton in his angry response to the Todd Purdum's artiel in Vanity Fair. Should she have identified herself? I'm going to ask everyone on the panel. I'll start with you.
Interesting. Well, I think that perhaps is going to be my answer, because everyone has been empowered by the internet to sort of be a journalist, and we need to start acting as though everyone around us is a journalist, because we all have the capability of publishing. We all have the capability of, you know, being in a fundraiser and putting up the Obama bitter comment. It's going to happen. So I think that maybe those rules and mores of the traditional media don't apply as much, that we need to have a sort of base understanding that everything we say is public.
Baratunde.
I tend to agree that that's the reality. I think there's a cost and a benefit to that, and we're in an awkward transition to the future. We know what the future is. The future is everything's live, online, all the time, Minority Report type of situation. We have access to anything you want in any form. The politicians are now feeling the brunt of that. So everyone is a reporter, and they're trying to adjust, and the public is trying to adjust. So what happens now, everything shocks us. Oh my God, Obama said bitter. Oh my God, McCain smiled. Like, oh my God. Are these larger-than-life appearances? They won't shock us anymore when that's every day. It shocked us to see the president on television. It shocked us to make a phone call across the globe. But now those are all normal behavior. So I think the reality that is live streaming of everything is going to become more normal. And those communications people who were up here earlier are going to adapt their game to adjust to that sort of new reality.
But Ben, what I think is different, it's the fact that this computer is sitting on your desk. It's not a TV across from you. You have your feet up, you got the kids running around, the dog. There's 20 things in the way, no matter how big your screen is, right? But when you're looking at someone having a meltdown, and they're on your computer, and they're 4 inches, it feels different, doesn't it?
It definitely does. I mean, really, to answer that question in the previous one, you know, typically online, something has to have a lot of shock value to really become part of the conversation, which is the reason why candidates' advertising, which is typically so slick and manufactured, isn't going to pop on YouTube, because what is it? Them saying, I'm for change and babies in the U.S. And, you know, for us, a lot of what we're trying to do is figure out ways to add something shocking in it. So the question about, you know, should she have identified herself? Well, should she have ethically? I'm not really sure. I'm not from the journalism world, but should she have, if she wanted to make a name for herself? That does work, because had she identified herself, her answer would have, you know, his answer would have been, I think what she did was inappropriate, but understand this, as opposed to, you know, calling her.
That's not what Christopher said. He said he'd go crazy anyway, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, he's
not. Mr. Clinton isn't very tightly wrapped, and he's full of hatred and loathing and unreason, and he can't contain himself anymore. It's become very clear.
Yeah.
And anything said to a voter at a public campaign rally is said, for the record, by definition. He wasn't trapped into doing anything.
Are we talking about Obama with the with Fowler being at the Obama private campaign, or are you talking about the?
Well, we were talking about both. The comments at the private.
No, I better break this to you now. We've been doing Clinton for all this time.
No. But
and by the way, this is the Google National Journal panel.
Oh my God! I thought I was going to be stripping into this.
Okay,
no.
let's.
Let me just to finish.
No, but Okay, because there was two things
We lumped
going
it all
on.
together. We lumped it all
We
together.
lumped it all
This
together.
was the idea
That's what I thought.
Breaking news.
Into the idea.
Breaking news. That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
The
I was
idea
like,
that everything is public and live all the
Same
time.
as when Dick Cheney doesn't know the mic is on and calls my friend Adam Kleinberg an asshole and so on, and he doesn't realize it's going to be too bad. Tough
But
shit.
don't we want them to be real? I mean, isn't the whole point to learn who these people are? Wouldn't we rather learn who they are via this sort of medium than learn who they are via their slickly produced ad and a list of bullet points on their website?
As long as we're ready for it, I think, and that's the part that concerns me a little bit, is that I don't think we've adjusted to seeing that side of a candidate. We still expect them to be superhuman and super intelligent and super articulate every single moment, and no one is. But as voters, we expect that of our candidates, even though we know we can't do it ourselves. They're not us. They have more money, they have more education, they've got more training and management. So I think we're all due for a big bubble popping when we realize that, hey, their farts smell too.
But what you said earlier was very good also. As this happens more and more, and you see things like the president pulling at a door that doesn't open, you know, in Moscow, things like that, people will also allow more for it. It will be less surprising. And it won't look so brilliant to get it on the air either. So
And that's
there is a natural compass that corrects
we
itself.
have to cross that chasm of awkwardness.
but 7 million people watched all 37 minutes of Obama's race speech on YouTube. Now there's plenty of other media outlets where it was watched. 7 million people did that, Liz. I don't know about you, but I'd kill for that audience any night of the week.
Right. I mean, I think that...
And ask any one of them if they can quote 2 words from it now.
Well, ask anyone if they did it at work.
Or ask anyone here.
How many did it at work?
No. Okay, then ask anyone who didn't even watch all of it, watch some of it, if you can remember a single phrase from it.
Who's got a phrase?
Racist grandma.
Right here.
Racist grandma.
Apart from his Grammy.
Right.
I mean, there's a strategy behind how they
And
get
people
those
said it was the
views, though.
Gettysburg Address. There's not a single memorable phrase in it at all, except for dumping on grandma.
Anyway.
Was the Gettysburg Address memorable immediately?
Yes.
I mean, did those people who were there that day know that it was going to be what it was?
They blogged it right after.
Yeah, they had to.
It's the National Blog Archive.
Yes, there was a fight over the piece
Figuring
of
out what 4 score was.
back of the envelope on which it was written, but I think it was recommended partly because the opening speaker, the curtain-raising speaker, spoke for 3 hours. So the economy of the Gettysburg Address, in comparison, recommended itself.
So have a good warm-up act, I think. Go ahead,
But the
Ben.
passage of time isn't going to make people remember a word Obama said in Philadelphia. One of the most boring
Then
speeches
why did
ever
all
made.
then why did all those people watch it?
Because they want it to be true.
Because they want to be part of it.
Well, look, this is a guy who can make a speech accepting the nomination, or claiming it rather, saying this will be the moment people will look back on as the time the oceans stop rising. So just by getting the delegate count, he's arrested the climate crisis. I mean, and no one thinks it's funny, except me. This is a megalomaniac narcissist. Oh yeah, probably now the sea will stop rising. Yeah, that'll do it. You know, someone from South Dakota just cast their superdelegate vote.
I think there's an assumption that 7 million people saw it, so that then it must be viral and everybody's watching it. But you're discounting the strategy that the Obama team has. That they email it to 1.5 million people, that they put it front and center on their homepage, and so then on YouTube, within 8 hours, it's on YouTube's homepage, and then everybody sees Obama's race speech, and something that might not have been sent around otherwise suddenly is the big quote-unquote viral video of the day. But this idea of viral as it used to exist of, this is hot, send it to all your friends, is actually almost negligible now. That rarely happens. Sometimes Huck will be do an ad with Chuck Norris, and it's so bizarre that it actually crosses over. And that, to me, is a really interesting
Give me
dynamic.
Mary Lou Freebush anytime over him.
Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting dynamic, is that, like, the candidates who were on the fringe, like Mike Gravel, and Ron Paul, were doing these really interesting things online because they were willing to take these chances. And the candidates like Clinton and Obama, even when they tried to do something that was a little bit different, you could tell it went through like 15 filters before it actually hit YouTube. And that's why, it didn't do that much. And part of the reason that Crush on Obama has, 50 million online views is because it didn't have all those committees along the way figuring out, let's make sure we don't offend anybody along the way.
So you're saying committees are wrong too. Let's see. Cable news networks are bad. Committees are wrong. We haven't talked about Senator McCain and the Republicans today, and we really should. What about their presence on the web and what's happening in the culture? Baratunde, you're right in there because you're more honest than CNN. Go.
Well, here's the fun part, and again, I'll take it back to the journalism of The Onion, is that while Obama and Clinton were doing this horse race dance and the networks and everyone was obsessed with that, we had a good time being able to talk about McCain. In fact, if you could cue up that video,
good
this
idea.
would be a great time for that.
Let's show the video now from our friends at The Onion.
He can get you to do anything he wants.
General Baratunde here.
I just have to do it with a smile, a little sparkle on this tooth right here.
It's a killer smile. She does what you say.
Newsweek article released today, Republican presidential candidate John McCain said if elected, he would cut $15 million in government spending by eliminating the need for the Secret Service. The decorated war hero said, quote, "You think I can't defend myself from some whack job? I've been to hell and back." And, quote, "If someone tries anything, the Secret Service better be protecting him, not me." McCain went on to state that if elected during his Inauguration Day parade, he would ride in a motorcade with the top down, and if, quote, "someone even looks at me cross-eyed, I'll rip his guts out through his throat and nail his ears to my trophy wall." In a conference call with reporters, McCain's campaign manager Rick Davis called McCain very passionate about his plans.
I will also save the government an estimated $3 million by eliminating the use of the Air Force One. Now he'll just pilot himself around in a decommissioned A-4 Skyhawk.
The McCain campaign also released a press statement earlier today, which includes a plan to save the nation an additional $500,000 by replacing the costly White House security system with a series of traps McCain will build himself out of wire and sharpened sticks. The 71-year-old Vietnam veteran also issued a challenge suggesting that instead of debates, he and Obama be dropped naked into a forest with only a hunting knife to see who comes out alive. Putting a cigarette out on his tongue, McCain added, "The day I get out tracked in the jungle is the day I saw off my own balls."
So, we don't like to deconstruct what we do there, so I won't go too much behind, but I think you see a lot of the themes about McCain that are out there, and we've had an opportunity to take that on while everyone else is focused on this side of the room.
And just to back him up, we did run that video with the headline, "The Onion is the only one talking about McCain right now," because it was in the midst of the Democratic fight, and they were the only ones who were coming out and saying these kinds of things. And I think in order to lampoon a subject as well as you guys do, you have to really know it. You can't be funny without the knowledge, and you also can't get the joke without doing your homework.
Do you feel like you're in competition with Colbert or Jon Stewart along the way? How do you guys do it?
That's a really good question. We get that all the time, and the short answer is no. We're kind of comedy cousins because we're doing something different. They're really in that daily news cycle of like, this happened 5 minutes ago, here's our response. And we have a slightly longer arc to that. So it's on a different spectrum of kind of the satire and news game. And what we try to do is write things that'll last 10 or even 20 years down the line, but be tied into...
Like Hitchens' video, still on YouTube, right?
There you go.
But I think also
tied into the zeitgeist enough that it'll actually, you might predict something. Like we ran Bill Clinton, screw it, I'm running for president. And right the week of South Carolina, though it was written before that, you could feel it happening. And so something like that will last for a while. And when George W. Bush took office,
I say it in Liz's presence, and I ask forgiveness, but there are some shows that I think now people laugh to show they get the joke, not because it's funny.
Yes.
They say, all Jon Stewart has to do is say Bush's IQ and make a face that everyone knows to laugh, because that must be funny, right? But a joke has not in fact been made. No information has been produced, no background, no backstory is required. It's a laugh line. They might as well have a laugh track as do that.
Well, I'm not there anymore, so I'm not going to comment. But there is a term called clapter, which I think is real. And it's when people hear something, it's exactly what you're saying, and they go, and they clap like seals. And it doesn't evoke out loud laughter, hilarity, like some of the tapes we've seen. But there's a recognition of you understand the hypocrisy you're being shown. But there also is the thing, and I feel what Chris is saying is an important thing, because exactly what you're talking about separates really good satire, doing the homework, and pointing out something satirically, or just saying, look, isn't Bush stupid? Right. I mean, and that's boring to me. I try never to do that. I think that it's not interesting, and I think that's a late night comic monologue from the bigger shows.
It's a Pavlovian cue. It just says.
Yeah.
Is there
Had
a
a
different
laugh now.
rhythm to a political joke than a regular joke?
A good one? A good one?
A good one.
I think a good political joke tries to, you know, say something funny instead of saying McCain's old, Reagan's old. You know, I just, you know, Hillary's whatever. You know.
What? Yeah, what?
There's many things people say that are not very about her policies.
You'll
and
feel
what she
better.
does.
You'll feel better if you
Yeah.
just say.
I'm not saying.
But I think the other thing on any joke, and maybe I'll carefully differ with my hero over here and say that any good joke, whether it's political or relationship, they have a lot of things in common. You know, they're communicating something.
They have to be at
new,
someone's
they have
expense.
a different premise.
They
and
have to
you're
be at
connecting
someone's expense.
on
Humor is
multiple-
always at someone's expense.
But
Gotta be
humor
someone's-
does serve a really important purpose in
gotta
this
have a
campaign
sting.
in that it will let people have discussions about things that they wouldn't necessarily. You're not going to go to mother-in-law and talk about abortion rights, but you might go and talk about what was on The Daily Show last night.
Or a hilarious joke about abortion rights.
Which I would
That's
like.
the best of both.
But new media political satire, I do think, is different, and that's, to me, what's really exciting about it is obviously satire has been around forever, and political cartoons, you know, hundreds of years ago, up to Saturday Night Live and everything now. But with new media, a couple things I'm noticing. One, there's this like conversation around everything as soon as it happens. You put a video on YouTube, and there's 10,000 comments, and they're talking about it in the New York Times. So that kind of like interaction with the user is really exciting to me. The other thing I'm finding with our videos, and it's almost the opposite of the clapter, where it's like, oh, if Jon Stewart said it and it's about Bush, it's got to be funny. You know, a lot of our videos are embedded in blogs. People have no idea that we did it. They have no idea what to expect. And a lot of times the blogs that put them up there don't even tip off what the joke is. Like that Hillary and Bosnia thing, most of the times the blogs talked about it, they would actually just say, oh, guess what? Hillary actually wasn't lying, and just put the video there. So they got to kind of be in on the joke to a degree, and they weren't, you know, tipping it off like Jay Leno or Letterman might on a late night bit and say, hey, here's Hillary and Bosnia, and you know exactly what's coming.
By the way, on cable news, we never fake that kind of stuff.
Oh,
We
I
say
know,
when it's a
I
joke.
know.
But if anyone has a question, if you dare take this panel on, please step over to the microphone and we'll get to you. So if you want to start moseying over there now, please feel free to do so. Brave souls out there. Are you a brave soul? Yes.
Bring
All right,
it on.
get over there. Go ahead, line it up, my friend, and we'll
Bring
be ready
it-
to go.
Bring it on.
Will we ever stop hearing that phrase, by the way?
He apologized for it again today in Europe. And the first time he apologized for it, he said it was Laura who told him that was a terrible thing you just said.
His wife told him?
Yeah. It's interesting how much influence she has.
Sir, give us your name, where you're from, who you're with, and who your question's for.
Well, my name's Tony Cerise, and due to the nature of the question, I'll plead the fifth on who I'm with because it has nothing to do with where I'm from. But I used to be in radio with a Clear Channel radio station group out in Montana, and it was in. Can't remember if it was the summer of 2000 or 2001, but every single news network was talking shark attacks all summer long, and the total number of shark attacks that summer had been 6, with something like 2 fatalities.
How many in Montana?
None. But what we had dug up is we had found that actually up to that point that year, there had been 7 deaths of people who had been crushed by vending machines because their candy bar didn't come out, so they start shaking that thing and it falls over on them and they're done.
Are you with Baratunde?
What's that?
Are you with Baratunde? Is
No,
this
no.
real? Oh, okay, just checking.
And I'm just wondering what what the mentality is maybe in our news media today that just preys on that fear factor and how they all do it kind of in synchronicity. I love it on the Daily Show now when something comes up and they immediately cut to a montage of every single news network talking about the exact same thing, using the exact same talking points, bullet points, and then they complain about being fed these bullet points that they're going to use.
Yeah.
And so how do we get away from that, or can we get away from it?
Blondes in peril are sexy. You get a blonde in peril, you can milk that thing for a whole
Wild
cycle
animals.
and a half.
Most scary words on TV, breaking news.
Yes.
All they have to do is point the camera at some disaster. There's no work, no research, no thought. It's breaking news.
But not even a disaster.
There is no school shooting problem in America. There isn't one really. And if to the extent there is, it's been going down all the time. The abducted children on milk cartons, fictional. satanic child abuse, fictional, but always works and requires no thought, no effort. Just that a lot of innocent people get arrested for crimes that they haven't committed.
But to your specific
And it's
question,
our fault.
to your specific question, again, defending cable news, like they need to be defended, but there's no pictures of people getting crushed by the vending machines.
Well, I didn't see anybody get bit by a shark either.
Oh, we can fix that.
I saw pictures of the beach.
People are not, I'm sorry.
I'm sure there's surveillance camera footage. There was surveillance camera footage.
And there are
of the vending
helicopters who
machines.
travel around the sea, and people are mesmerized. How many people have been mesmerized by a helicopter going around, watching it on TV, waiting for something to happen?
Because there's nothing else on TV.
But Tammy, so what?
Change the channel.
But what you're
This
saying
other
is
channel
there
has the same
was
helicopter.
Buy
vending machine
cable.
crushing someone,
Buy
you hear it all the
cable.
time.
How about satellite? I'll give you a couple brochures. Change the channel.
I actually would watch someone pulling a vending machine out over.
People watch the guy trapped in the
attack stuff.
elevator. I mean, that's kind of the
I'm
same
not so
thing.
sure about the shark attacks. That's over too quickly, I always think.
And you can't
You know,
say change the
It's over too fast.
changing
They
the
die
channel.
quickly.
He set it up. That was a really good question.
Yeah.
It's on every
It's on every channel.
It's
Like, I
on
was not, I do politics, I don't do sharks, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I wasn't
okay,
part of
so now
that
you-
trend.
no
I
more
was there
defense?
for the trend,
You're
though,
gonna
I must
sidestep
say.
this one?
Yes,
Thank you.
I'm not defending. Thank you.
question,
Okay, who's
dude.
next?
Nice
Who has
try.
a question? Who is brave? Who is brave? I want to, while someone gathers their courage, please go ahead, walk over.
Now.
Here's my question. Well, let's go to her first, but think about this, ladies and gentlemen. This fall campaign, this campaign has been dominated by new media. You start thinking about, so you can tell the audience what's going to happen this fall that's new that we should look out for. Hi there, go ahead.
I had a quick question. It's
But you didn't say who you were yet.
Oh, my name is Sarah, and I work at ABC News.
Oh,
so
ABC
it's-
News.
But
ABC
I'm in
News.
the .com digital portion as well. So,
Oh,
but it's a
.com.
question that we have that my friends and I have been talking about in and outside the office, and the question is, what are the perils when candidates kind of reach a rock star celebrity status? Because I think one of the things that we love about celebrities today is that we love to watch their rise, but we also love to watch them fall. And what are the parallels of that, and what happens when, you know, Bon Jovi or Britney rises and falls? I mean, Britney's not taking away your health care or giving you health care, so how does that parallel at all? And
Well, what's the
is that-
fall that the media is going to focus on? You know, I mean, I guess I would ask, so often, you know, I wasn't at the Howard Dean defining moment screaming, but you talked to
You could have watched
people-
it on cable.
I did, over and over, thanks to you.
You're welcome.
But those who were in the room said that it didn't seem as big as life as the way the media portrayed it. I don't know what's
It's
there.
like reliving Richard Nixon's debate. Come on, get in the modern media, get a TV, and look at it. I mean, come on.
But you know what? There's a difference between. But that's the whole thing.
It
is
is
that,
politics. It's about media. It's how you appear on TV. It's not
okay,
how you
so
are in the
anyone
room.
messes up, it's defined by the media as a giant mess up, and that's the fall. The bottom line is you shouldn't fall in love with politicians.
Well, it
They're
depends on-
politicians,
yeah.
no matter what they are. You
It
shouldn't
depends
kiss
on
a
how
hooker,
much
don't
you
fall in
have
love
in
with
the
politicians.
bank. You know, it's like how much you've built, like how much sort of public leeway you've kind of banked up. You know, how much it's the fourth heart attack. It's like how much are people willing to forgive before it sort of changes what it means and how people are going to respond to it.
Christopher.
Well, it's a matter of whether you want charisma in a politician or not, or whether it should be just what the Constitution says it is. Any citizen can do it. You need only average integrity. You pick up the garbage, you defend the frontiers of the country, you take care that the laws are faithfully executed, and you don't try and be a star of any other kind. That should be nice. That would be, but people think, no, I'm looking for love in all the wrong places. I want a politician who I can adore, or who loves me or cares about me. And that can be very dangerous, because that's the origin of demagogy, which is the origin of totalitarianism. It means someone is going to one day promise you a lot, a great deal, in exchange for something rather sinister.
I think there's, I'm sorry.
No,
I
go
was just
ahead.
saying, I think there's something very frightening about somebody who actually would like jobs like that anyway, because it goes very much to your point, where it's like they've sat down, they've looked at themselves, and they've said, do you know what's wrong with the world? I'm not in charge. And that's fatally bizarre.
So wait a minute. You don't like the cable networks, right? You don't like the web videos, and now you're blaming the candidates
What
themselves?
web videos don't I like?
I don't know. Ben.
Wait, no, you know.
No, you don't like sharks. You don't like sharks.
I didn't say. I said I didn't. Okay, first
you
of all,
didn't like Hillary's
this
videos.
is what's wrong with cable news. She's saying
You
three
didn't
things
like
I didn't say,
the
and then
citizen
you're
blogger.
yelling over me.
Are you trying? What are you saying?
That's
are you
exactly
saying?
what's happening. Is that not what's happening? Can I hear? Yes.
Ding, ding, ding,
You're
ding,
turning
ding.
against me? You were turning against your moderator and host? Baratunde, please come back to me.
What I will do is I'll
Never
take
get in a fight with a
I'll take it back to your question, which is, you see it happening already. I mean, to be successful, we built a culture, I'm going to be a little serious, I'm sorry, where like celebrity gets you places. And we like that. And we like that they're distant from us and that they're special and they eat places we could never afford and vacation in places we could never get to. But we also love when they OD and have 1,000 kids out of wedlock and crash their cars driving cocaine, with cocaine spilling in their laps. So this will happen. Like the beautiful thing is that you can guarantee, and you already saw it, the Reverend Wright thing was a great test run for Obama. Because there was a lot of positive stuff. And then all of a sudden it was like, do you love America? Why aren't you wearing your flag? Are you really a Muslim? Like, where'd that come from? I thought he was like the super Jesus guy. And now, you're questioning if he's American? Yeah. So it'll keep coming back around. We push him up, we bring him down.
And questioning if he's a Muslim after the preacher problem.
Not in that case. He had everyone lining up to suck on him. And he had to do that. He brought it all on himself. None of that was imposed upon him.
Reverend Wright.
He decided to go to that church. He got married there. He had his children baptized there. He gave money to that thug.
But he stepped away, too.
All of it, and when he was asked to announce it, he said, well, it seems like the guy doesn't care enough about my campaign, so I'll disown him. No, none of this was done by us to him. Everyone in the press wished it hadn't happened. They still do. They still do. And that's why the unquotable, forgettable, nothing Philadelphia speech is still considered to be one of the greatest addresses by any politician ever made. And no one here has yet quoted 2 words from it.
I just wanted to add,
nor will they ever.
We're wrapping up. Go ahead, Ben.
No, I just want to say, it seems like it kind of ties into the political satire thing, that a lot of times people like to find one thing to hone in on the candidate, and that's their thing. And I remember reading that Clinton, they actually really liked that he ate a lot of fries was the thing that people picked on, because people weren't going to not vote for him for that. But the Al Gore being boring, or the Hillary Clinton being controlling, or felt like it was inevitable, when political satire kind of hones in on one subject about a person, I feel like sometimes that is what kind of starts what you're saying, the backlash, and then all of a sudden, and I talked to one comedian who was saying that they don't know, what's going to be the thing that people make fun of about Obama. I don't really know if I've seen it yet, but that, part of the thing I think we were making fun of in the Crush on Obama video was this idea of him as kind of a pop star. But
there's going to be plenty. He's again.
No, there will be, but my point is, I guess, it seems like all of a sudden, I didn't know Al Gore was boring until all of a sudden Saturday Night Live started hitting that over the head, and all of a sudden it's like, I guess he's boring. And you asked the question before about
wooden. You remember wooden?
Yeah, wooden.
Yeah, wooden.
Everything was wooden.
And you asked the question before about do we view these guys as competitors? I mean, for me, when we create videos, I think we're like, this would be amazing if The Onion and The Daily Show, somebody there saw it and liked it. It's the opposite on our end. We just started a year ago, but I'm honored to be on the stage with this group. And to a degree, I think part of that reason is I never felt like The Daily Show or The Onion pigeonholed one person and then just beat him over the head for that one thing. We didn't. And they found that day's story and found something really original and innovative about that story to key in on. And I always had so much respect for that, and that's what I hope we can do a little bit.
Well, and I hope that in doing that and doing the new project I'm doing now, to me, political satire, we have a different mindset than The Onion. You guys are amazing. I just rely on urgency. I really like to be able to see that something happened.
Breaking news.
Do it. Yes. Yes, all the bells and whistles, breaking news. Breaking news,
I think it's very well said.
Like watching arteries harden.
Arteries.
Like watching arteries harden.
Right.
On the urgency thing, we've talked a little bit backstage about this. We have a different challenge at the end, but we're sliding up that scale. We did a breaking news mobile text alert when Hillary dropped out. And said, Senator Hillary Clinton has ended a bid for president despite having won already in February 2007. Right? And that goes out to a whole bunch of people. And we have other things that are kind of, newspapers write obits well before people die, right? Just to have them on file. So there's certain things there. And with the website and with doing things online, we're also adding new things. We have a Google map. We're actually at Google. And, plotting the campaign stops.
You should really make a journalism handbook so everyone here could follow all your policies. I want to thank everyone on the panel, if you'll help me.
Thank you.
Great job. And next time we'll tell you all about the future of the internet, right? Thanks for being with us.
Oh yeah, we didn't get to that.
That's right.
Thanks very much for joining us today, folks. If you can, please join us for a drink up on the roof. Just go to the elevators, and folks will escort you up there. Again, thanks for coming.